The alarm bells rang through Nexus Prime Station like the screams of dying stars. Admiral Vexithara rushed from her quarters, her forearms moving quickly to fasten her uniform as she ran down the metal corridors. The emergency lights painted everything red, and crew members pressed themselves against the walls to let her pass. "Report," she shouted as she burst onto the command deck. Lieutenant Kexapol turned from his station, his scaled face pale with fear. "Admiral, we have detected an unknown vessel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. It appeared without any FTL signature we can identify." Vexithara stopped cold. In her 30 years of service to the Galactic Empire, she had never heard those words. Every ship in known space used the same basic faster-than-light travel. The Empire had made sure of that when they conquered the galaxy 3,000 years ago. "Show me," she ordered. The main screen flickered to life. At first, Vexithara saw nothing but empty space and distant stars. Then the computer highlighted a dark shape moving through the void. The ship was massive, easily the size of an Imperial dreadnought, but its design was completely alien. "Computer, run identification scan," Vexithara commanded. "Scan complete. No match found in Imperial databases," the computer replied in its calm voice. The bridge fell silent. Every crew member stared at the screen. In 3,000 years, the Empire had catalogued every ship design, every species, every planet worth knowing. Nothing existed that wasn't in their databases. "Run the scan again," Vexithara said. "Scan complete. No match found in Imperial databases." Vexithara felt her stomach drop. She moved to the tactical station and began running her own scans. The readings made no sense. The ship's hull seemed to absorb their sensor beams instead of reflecting them. The energy signatures coming from the vessel didn't match any known technology. "What's its heading?" she asked. "Direct course for Kepler 442b, Admiral," Lieutenant Kexpol replied. "At current speed, it will reach the planet in 18 hours. Kepler 442b housed over 2 billion Imperial citizens. It was one of the most important agricultural worlds in the sector. If this unknown ship had hostile intentions, millions could die. Have they responded to our hails?" Vexithara asked. "Negative, Admiral. We've tried all standard frequencies. They're not responding to anything." Vexithara studied the ship on the screen. Its design was unlike anything she had ever seen. Where Imperial ships were built for function and showed their power clearly, this vessel seemed almost organic. Its hull curved in smooth lines and strange protrusions jutted from its sides like the fins of some deep space creature. "What's the ship made of?" she asked the science officer. Commander Veltarn looked up from his instruments, confusion clear on his face. "That's the strange part, Admiral. The materials don't match anything in our databases. The hull appears to be some kind of metal alloy, but it contains elements we can't identify." "That's impossible," Vexithara said. "The Empire has catalogued every element in the galaxy." "Yes, Admiral, but our sensors are detecting atomic structures that shouldn't exist according to our science." Vexithara felt a chill run down her spine. First an unknown ship, now unknown materials. What was happening in her sector? "Analyze their propulsion system," she ordered. "Already trying, Admiral. But their engines don't seem to work like anything we know. They're not using antimatter, fusion, or any other known power source. The energy readings are impossible." "Stop saying impossible," Vexithara snapped. "The ship is right there. Whatever they're doing, it's obviously possible." She began pacing the bridge, her mind racing. Imperial protocol was clear. All ships entering Imperial space must identify themselves, request permission to enter, and submit to inspection. This ship had done none of those things. "Admiral," Lieutenant Kexpol called out. "The ship is increasing speed." Vexithara spun around. "How much?" 30% increase. At this rate, they'll reach Kepler 442b in 12 hours instead of 18. "Still no response to our hails?" "Nothing, Admiral." Vexithara made her decision. "Send an emergency message to Sector Command. Tell them we have an unidentified vessel of unknown origin heading for Kepler 442b. Request immediate military support." Message sent. "Admiral, now broadcast on all frequencies to the unknown ship. Tell them they are in violation of Imperial space law. They must identify themselves immediately and submit to inspection, or we will consider them hostile." The communications officer sent the message. They waited. The red lights continued to flash, and the bridge crew watched the main screen. The unknown ship continued on its course without any change in speed or direction. "Any response?" Vexithara asked after 5 minutes. "Nothing, Admiral." Vexathara looked at the ship again. Its dark hull seemed to drink in the light from the nearby star. Whatever these beings were, they either didn't understand Imperial law or didn't care about it. Both options were terrifying. "Admiral," Commander Veltarn called out. "I'm detecting something strange about their ship's structure." "What kind of strange?" "The internal layout doesn't make sense. Our deep scans show compartments that are bigger on the inside than they should be based on the external dimensions." "Run the scan again." "I've run it 4 times, Admiral. The readings are consistent. Either our sensors are malfunctioning, or that ship uses technology that violates the basic laws of physics." Vexathara closed her eyes and took a deep breath. In one day, everything she thought she knew about the galaxy had been turned upside down. An unknown ship with impossible technology was heading for one of their most important worlds, and she had no idea what to do about it. "Admiral," Lieutenant Kexpol shouted. "Sector Command is responding. Admiral Zarketh is coming with a full battle group. 12 dreadnoughts, ETA 6 hours. Vexathara felt some relief. Admiral Zarketh was the most experienced fleet commander in the sector. If anyone could handle this situation, it was him. Good. Continue monitoring the unknown vessel. I want to know if they so much as change course by 1 degree. Yes, Admiral. Vexathara remained on the bridge watching the mysterious ship. It continued its steady course toward Kepler 442b, ignoring all their attempts at communication. The ship's silence was almost worse than if it had been threatening them. At least then they would know what they were dealing with. As the hours passed, more details became clear. The ship was definitely armed, though the weapons didn't look like anything in Imperial records. Strange turrets and projections covered its hull, but their purpose was unclear. "Admiral," the science officer reported, "I'm detecting massive power reserves in that ship. Whatever their energy source is, it's incredibly efficient. They're producing more power than a space station. How is that possible with a ship that size?" "I don't know, Admiral. Nothing about this vessel makes sense." Vexathara stared at the screen. In 6 hours, Admiral Zarketh would arrive with enough firepower to destroy a small planet. But looking at the mysterious ship, she couldn't shake the feeling that 12 dreadnoughts might not be enough. The unknown vessel continued its silent journey through space, carrying secrets that would soon shake the very foundations of the Galactic Empire. Admiral Zarketh arrived exactly on schedule, his battle group dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 12 massive dreadnoughts took position around Nexus Prime Station, their hulls gleaming in the starlight. Each ship was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to level a continent. Vexathara felt relief wash over her as she watched the fleet take position. Zarketh was a legend in the Imperial Navy. He had never lost a battle in 40 years of service. His presence alone was usually enough to make enemies surrender. "Admiral Vexathara." "Report." Zarketh's voice came through the communication system. "The unknown vessel is still on course for Kepler 442b. It will arrive in 4 hours. They have ignored all our attempts at communication." "Understood. I'm taking command of this situation. Transfer all sensor data to my flagship." "Data transferred, Admiral." Vexathara watched as Zarketh's flagship, the Eternal Glory, moved closer to scan the mysterious ship. The huge dreadnought dwarfed even Nexus Prime Station, its weapons ports glowing with ready energy. "By the Emperor's will," Zarketh's voice came back over the comm. "What is this thing?" "Unknown, Admiral. We've never seen anything like it." "Well, let's follow standard procedure. All ships battle formation, target the unknown vessel." The 12 dreadnoughts spread out in an attack pattern that had been perfected over centuries of warfare. Energy weapons powered up, missile launchers loaded, and shields came online. The combined firepower could destroy anything that had ever flown in space. "Unknown vessel," Zarketh broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Zarketh of the Imperial Navy. You are in violation of Imperial space law. Identify yourself immediately and prepare to be boarded, or you will be destroyed." Silence. The mysterious ship continued on its path without changing speed or course. It showed no sign that it had even heard the message. "They're either deaf or incredibly stupid," Zarketh muttered over the comm. "Admiral," Vexathara said, "should we assume hostile intent? Give them 1 more minute. Then we follow standard Imperial protocol." 60 seconds passed. The unknown ship maintained its course. "All ships prepare to fire warning shots. Target the space in front of the vessel. Maybe that will get their attention." 12 dreadnoughts charged their main weapons. The space around them crackled with energy as massive guns prepared to fire. Fire! Brilliant beams of energy lanced through space, crossing in front of the unknown ship in a display of imperial power. The shots were carefully aimed to miss, but the message was clear. Stop or be destroyed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then something completely unexpected came through the communication system. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Defiance. We're not looking for trouble, but we're not asking for permission either. The bridge of Nexus Prime Station fell silent. Vexithara stared at the communication console. The voice had spoken in perfect galactic standard, the official language of the Empire, but the accent was strange, unlike anything she had heard before. Did they just... Lieutenant Kexapol started to say. They spoke galactic standard, Vexithara finished. But how is that possible? They're not in our databases. Over the fleet communication channel, she could hear Admiral Zarketh talking to his crew. Run a linguistic analysis on that transmission. I want to know everything about that voice. Unknown vessel, Zarketh broadcast. You will identify yourself properly and submit to Imperial authority. This is your final warning. The response came quickly. Admiral, my name is Captain Sarah Chen. My ship is the UES Defiance representing the United Earth Systems. We're passing through this area on diplomatic business. We don't recognize Imperial authority over our movements. Vexithara felt her stomach drop. United Earth Systems? Earth was in their databases, but it was listed as a primitive world still in its early space age. The planet was under quarantine until it developed proper FTL technology. Admiral Zarketh, she called over the comm. Earth is in our records. It's marked as pre-FTL and quarantined. I know, Zarketh replied. Either this is some kind of joke or we have a serious problem. The Admiral opened a channel to the unknown ship again. Captain Chen, our records show Earth as a pre-FTL civilization. Explain how you have this technology. Your records are out of date, Admiral. We've been traveling between stars for over a century. We just chose not to announce ourselves until now. That's impossible. We would have detected your ships. Would you? How many of our ships have you actually seen? The question hung in space like a challenge. Vexithara realized they had only detected this one ship because it had allowed itself to be detected. If humans had really been traveling in space for over a century, where were all their other ships? Captain Chen, Admiral Zarketh said, his voice taking on the tone he used with enemies. You will surrender your vessel for inspection immediately. Failure to comply will result in your destruction. Admiral, I don't think you understand the situation. We're not pirates or rebels. We're representatives of a sovereign government, and we don't surrender to anyone. Then you have chosen death. No, Captain Chen replied calmly. We've chosen to defend ourselves. Admiral Zarketh gave the order that had ended 1,000 battles. All ships target the unknown vessel. Fire at will. What happened next would be talked about in Imperial military academies for generations. Instead of the human ship being destroyed, something impossible occurred. In exactly 17 seconds, every Imperial ship lost its shields. Not damaged, not weakened, completely offline. Their weapon systems locked up. Their engines went dead. 12 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy suddenly became floating metal boxes. Report, Admiral Zarketh shouted over the comm. All systems down, Admiral, came the panicked responses from his fleet. Shields gone. Weapons offline. Engines dead. The human ship hadn't fired a single visible shot. It hadn't even powered up any obvious weapons. Yet somehow it had disabled 12 dreadnoughts in less than 20 seconds. How is that possible? Vexithara whispered. Captain Chen's voice came over the comm again, still calm and polite. Admiral, your ships are completely intact. Your crews are perfectly safe, but I wanted to make sure you understood that we're not helpless. What did you do to our ships? Zarketh demanded. We temporarily disrupted your electrical systems. Think of it as a very advanced form of electronic warfare. Your ships will be back to normal in about 10 minutes. This is impossible. No technology can do what you just did. Admiral, just because you don't understand something doesn't make it impossible. It just means you have more to learn. Vexithara stared at the screen showing the human ship. It looked exactly the same as before, but now she understood that appearances meant nothing. This small vessel had just defeated the most powerful battle group in the sector without breaking a sweat. Captain Chen, Admiral Zarketh said, his voice much more respectful now. What do you want? Safe passage through this system. We're heading to Kepler 442b on diplomatic business. Once we're done, we'll leave your space. What kind of diplomatic business? The kind that will change how this galaxy works, Admiral. The kind that will make this conversation look like a minor disagreement between friends. As if to prove her point, the systems on all 12 dreadnoughts suddenly came back online. Shields powered up, weapons became responsive, and engines hummed to life. It was as if nothing had happened. "Consider this a demonstration of good faith," Captain Chen said. "We could have left you all floating helplessly, but we chose not to. We hope you'll remember that." The UES Defiance continued on its course toward Kepler 442b, now followed by 12 very confused and humbled Imperial warships. Admiral Zarketh had just learned that the galaxy was much larger and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Admiral Zarketh sat in his command chair, staring at the human ship on his main screen. In 40 years of military service, he had never felt so confused and angry. The UES Defiance continued its steady course toward Kepler 442b, completely ignoring the 12 dreadnoughts following it. "Science officer," he called out, "explain to me how they disabled our entire fleet." Commander Mordan looked up from his instruments, his face pale. "Admiral, we've run every test we can think of. Our computers show no sign of attack, no damage, no foreign programs. It's like our systems just decided to turn themselves off. That's impossible." "Yes, sir, but it happened." Zarketh opened a communication channel to his fleet. "All ships report status." One by one, his captains confirmed that their ships were running perfectly. No damage, no problems, everything working exactly as it should. It was as if the attack had never happened. "Admiral," his tactical officer said, "I've been analyzing the attack pattern. The timing was too perfect. They shut down every ship at exactly the same moment, despite us being spread over thousands of kilometers." "What does that mean?" "It means they have technology that can affect multiple targets instantly across vast distances. That's not supposed to be possible with any known science." Zarketh felt a headache building behind his eyes. Everything about this situation violated his understanding of how the universe worked. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a message from Imperial High Command." "Put it through." Emperor Veltar himself appeared on the screen, his ancient face showing deep concern. "Admiral Zarketh, we've been monitoring your situation." "Explain what happened." "Your Majesty, an unknown human vessel disabled our entire battle group without visible weapons or apparent effort. They claim to represent something called the United Earth Systems." The Emperor's expression darkened. "Humans? Earth is a quarantined primitive world?" "That's what we thought, Your Majesty. But this ship shows technology far beyond our own." "That's impossible. Our intelligence networks cover the entire galaxy. We would know if Earth had developed advanced technology." "With respect, Your Majesty, we thought many things were impossible today." The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. "Admiral, you will continue to monitor this vessel. Do not engage it again, unless it shows hostile action toward Imperial citizens. I'm sending additional ships to your location." "How many ships, Your Majesty?" "The entire 7th Fleet, 200 vessels." Zarketh felt his mouth go dry. The 7th Fleet was one of the Empire's most powerful forces. If the Emperor was sending that many ships, he was taking this threat very seriously. "Yes, Your Majesty." The communication ended, leaving Zarketh alone with his thoughts. He looked at the human ship again. It seemed so small and harmless, but appearances were clearly deceiving. "Admiral," his science officer called out, "I'm detecting something strange about the human ship's structure." "What now?" "It's changing, sir. The hull configuration is shifting." Zarketh watched as the UES Defiance began to transform. Sections of the hull moved and reconfigured themselves. New structures extended from the ship's sides and what looked like additional engines appeared. "Are they preparing for battle?" the tactical officer asked. "Unknown. The changes don't match any known weapon systems." Captain Chen's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral Zarketh, I wanted to let you know that we're approaching our destination. We'll be dropping out of FTL soon." "Captain Chen, our sensors show your ship is changing configuration. Are you preparing weapons?" "No, Admiral. We're just making some adjustments for planetary approach. Our ships are designed to adapt to different situations. Your hull is physically reshaping itself." "How is that possible?" "Programmable matter, Admiral. The hull can reconfigure based on mission requirements. It's quite useful for long-range exploration." Zarketh looked at his science officer, who just shook his head in amazement. Programmable matter was theoretical technology that Imperial scientists had only dreamed about. Captain Chen, may I ask where you learned to speak Galactic Standard? We've been studying your language for quite some time, Admiral. We find it useful to understand our neighbors. How long have you been studying us? There was a pause before Captain Chen answered. Longer than you might think, the human ship suddenly slowed and began approaching Kepler 442b. Zarketh ordered his fleet to maintain distance but continue monitoring. Admiral, the communications officer said, we're being hailed by Kepler 442b Planetary Command. They want to know what's happening. Tell them to maintain calm and follow all security protocols. Do not interfere with the human ship unless it shows hostile action. Yes. Sir. Zarketh watched as the UES Defiance entered orbit around Kepler 442b. The planet was home to over 2 billion Imperial citizens. If the humans had hostile intentions, this could become the worst disaster in Imperial history. Admiral, the tactical officer reported, the human ship is launching smaller vessels. How many? 6 small craft. They appear to be shuttles or landing vehicles. Are they armed? Unknown, sir. Their design doesn't match anything in our databases. Zarketh opened a channel to the human ship. Captain Chen, what are your intentions on Kepler 442b? We have a diplomatic meeting scheduled, Admiral. Nothing that should concern your people. A meeting with whom? We have no record of any authorized contact with your species. The meeting isn't with Imperial officials, Admiral. Then with whom? People who have been waiting to talk with us for a very long time. Zarketh felt a chill run down his spine. Captain Chen, all inhabitants of Kepler 442b are Imperial citizens. Any unauthorized contact with them is a violation of Imperial law. Admiral, I think you'll find that the situation is more complicated than your laws account for. The 6 human shuttles entered the planet's atmosphere and disappeared from sensors. Zarketh had no idea where they were going or what they planned to do. Sir, the science officer said, I'm detecting some kind of signal exchange between the human ship and multiple locations on the planet's surface. Can you decode the signals? No, sir. They're using an encryption method we've never seen before. Admiral, the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving an emergency transmission from the planetary governor. Put it through. Governor Hexara appeared on screen, her face showing complete panic. Admiral, we have a situation. The humans aren't just making contact with our citizens. They're making contact with people who claim they've been waiting for them. What do you mean? We have reports from across the planet. Citizens are coming forward saying they've been in secret communication with humans for years. They have devices we've never seen before. They know things about human technology that should be impossible. Zarketh felt the universe shifting around him. How many citizens? Thousands, Admiral. Maybe tens of thousands. They're organized. They've been planning for this day. That's impossible. Our security services would have detected any outside contact. Admiral, these people have technology that makes our security systems look like children's toys. They've been operating under our noses for who knows how long. Captain Chen's voice came over the comm again. Admiral, I think it's time you learned the truth about what's been happening in your galaxy. What truth? The truth that humanity has been watching the Empire for over 50 years. The truth that we have friends on thousands of Imperial worlds. The truth that your control over this galaxy isn't as complete as you think. Zarketh stared at the screen showing Kepler 442b. Across the planet's surface, lights were beginning to appear in patterns he had never seen before. Citizens were openly displaying human technology, and his security forces could do nothing to stop them. How long have you been planning this? He asked. Admiral, this isn't about planning. This is about patience. We've been waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves. That moment is now. The UES Defiance continued its orbit around Kepler 442b, while human shuttles landed at coordinates across the planet. With each passing minute, more reports came in of Imperial citizens openly displaying alien technology and declaring their support for humanity. Zarketh realized that everything he thought he knew about the galaxy had been an illusion. The Empire wasn't as powerful as they believed, and humanity wasn't the primitive species they had assumed. Today marked the beginning of a new era, whether the Empire was ready for it or not. The emergency session of the Imperial Council had been called for the first time in 300 years. Emperor Veltar sat on his crystal throne, surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Military commanders, intelligence chiefs, and sector governors filled the massive chamber. all trying to understand what was happening to their empire. "Report," the Emperor commanded. Admiral Zarketh stood before the assembly, still shaken by what he had witnessed. "Your Majesty, the situation is far worse than we initially believed. The humans are not what we thought they were." "Explain." "They have been operating in Imperial space for decades without our knowledge. They have technology that makes our most advanced systems look primitive, and they have allies among our own citizens on hundreds of worlds." A wave of shocked whispers ran through the chamber. Director Kelvar of Imperial Intelligence stepped forward, his face grim. "Your Majesty, our investigation has revealed the scope of this infiltration. We have found evidence of human presence on over 300 Imperial worlds. They have been watching us, studying us, and preparing for this moment." "How is that possible?" demanded General Morketh. "Our security networks monitor every system in the galaxy." "Apparently not," Director Kelvar replied. "The humans have been using technology that our sensors cannot detect. They have been hiding in plain sight for 50 years. Emperor Veltar's ancient face showed the strain of this revelation. "Show me the evidence." The chamber's main display activated, showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots began appearing across Imperial space, each one marking a confirmed human presence. Within moments, hundreds of red dots covered the map. "These are human observation posts," Director Kelvar explained. "Some have been operating for over 30 years. They monitor our communications, our ship movements, our military exercises. They know everything about us. And we know nothing about them," the Emperor said quietly. "That's not entirely true, Your Majesty. We've learned some disturbing facts. Earth is not the primitive world we thought it was. Our intelligence files show that we last updated our information about Earth over 200 years ago. Since then, humanity has developed into a major spacefaring civilization." Admiral Zarketh activated his own presentation. "Your Majesty, according to the human captain I spoke with, they control multiple star systems. Their technology is based on scientific principles we haven't discovered yet. The ship that disabled my entire fleet was described as a diplomatic courier, not a warship." "You mean there are more powerful ships?" General Morketh asked. "Many more powerful ships, according to Captain Chen. She implied that their actual military vessels would make her ship look like a small transport." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Empire had built its power on the belief that they possessed the most advanced technology in the galaxy. If humanity had superior technology, everything changed. "Your Majesty," Director Kelvar continued, "we've also discovered that many of our citizens have been in secret communication with humans for years. They have been given advanced technology and have been organizing themselves into what they call liberation networks." "Liberation from what?" the Emperor asked. "From Imperial rule, Your Majesty. The humans have been encouraging independence movements across the galaxy. They've been providing technology and support to groups that want to break away from the Empire." Emperor Veltar stood from his throne, his face showing anger for the first time in centuries. "How many systems are affected?" "We're still investigating, but preliminary reports suggest that over half of our territories have some level of human influence." The number struck the assembly like a physical blow. The Empire controlled thousands of worlds, and the idea that humans had infiltrated most of them was almost impossible to believe. "Your Majesty," Admiral Zarketh said, "there's something else. The humans claim they know about our enemies outside the galaxy. They mentioned having knowledge of the Empire's rival powers." This revelation caused an uproar in the chamber. The existence of potential threats beyond Imperial space was one of the most classified secrets in the government. "Silence," the Emperor commanded. "How could they know about that intelligence?" "They've been watching us for 50 years, Your Majesty. They probably know all our secrets by now." Director Kelvar stepped forward again. "Your Majesty, we've intercepted some human communications. They seem to be coordinating a galaxy-wide revelation of their presence. What happened at Kepler 442b is just the beginning." "What do you mean?" "Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. Human ships are appearing at major systems. Citizens are openly displaying human technology. Independence movements are declaring themselves on dozens of worlds." The Emperor sat back down heavily. "In one day, they've managed to shake the foundations of an empire that has stood for 3,000 years. "Yes, Your Majesty. And according to our analysis, this is all coordinated. They've been planning this revelation for decades." General Morketh stood up, his face red with anger. "Your Majesty, we must respond with force. We cannot allow this challenge to Imperial authority." With what force? Admiral Zarketh asked. Their one diplomatic ship disabled 12 of our best dreadnoughts without effort. How do we fight an enemy that can turn off our weapons with a thought? We have millions of ships, and they have technology that makes our millions of ships irrelevant. Emperor Veltar raised his hand for silence. What do the humans want? Director Kelvar consulted his notes. According to their communications with our citizens, they want to establish formal diplomatic relations. They're offering technological cooperation and military alliance, but they demand recognition as an independent power. And if we refuse? They haven't made any direct threats, Your Majesty, but their capabilities speak for themselves. The Emperor looked around the chamber at his advisors. For 3,000 years, the Empire had been the dominant power in the galaxy. They had never faced a challenge they couldn't overcome with superior technology and overwhelming force. Now they faced an enemy that had been preparing for this moment longer than most of them had been alive. Your Majesty, a new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. We're receiving a transmission addressed to you personally. From whom? Captain Sarah Chen of the human ship UES Defiance. Put it through. The main screen activated, showing a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. She looked remarkably similar to the other species in the galaxy, but her eyes held an intelligence that seemed ancient despite her young appearance. Emperor Veltar, she said. I'm Captain Chen. I think it's time we had an honest conversation. Captain Chen, you have violated Imperial space and encouraged rebellion among our citizens. Emperor, with respect, we haven't violated anything. We've simply revealed truths that were already there. Your citizens chose to work with us because they wanted something better than what the Empire offered them. What do you want? We want peace, Emperor. We want cooperation. We want to work together to make this galaxy a better place for everyone who lives in it. And if we refuse? Captain Chen smiled sadly. Emperor, we've been preparing for this conversation for over 50 years. We hope you'll choose cooperation, but we're ready for any decision you make. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in silence. Emperor Veltar looked around at his advisors, seeing fear and uncertainty in their faces. Your Majesty, Admiral Zarketh said quietly, I recommend we negotiate. You want us to surrender to these humans? I want us to survive, Your Majesty. We're facing an enemy that's been planning this for longer than we've known they existed. They have superior technology, they have allies among our own people, and they've demonstrated that they can disable our military whenever they choose. Emperor Veltar closed his eyes and thought about 3,000 years of imperial history. The empire had been built on conquest and maintained through superior power. Now they faced a force that challenged both their military strength and their right to rule. When he opened his eyes again, his decision was made. Prepare a diplomatic mission. We will meet with these humans and learn what they truly want. The galaxy would never be the same. The Imperial Palace had never hosted alien diplomats before. In 3,000 years of empire, all negotiations had been conducted from a position of overwhelming strength, usually ending with the other side's surrender. Today was different. Emperor Veltar stood in the Grand Throne Room watching as Captain Sarah Chen entered with a small group of human delegates. They moved with quiet confidence, showing no sign of being impressed by the massive golden chamber or the hundreds of Imperial guards lining the walls. Captain Chen, the Emperor said, welcome to the Imperial Palace. Thank you, Emperor Veltar. It's an honor to be here. The Emperor studied the human captain. She appeared young by most species standards, but her eyes held a depth that suggested centuries of experience. Her uniform was simple and practical, lacking the elaborate decorations that Imperial officers wore to show their rank. You have caused quite a disturbance in my galaxy, Captain. Your galaxy? Captain Chen smiled. Emperor, that's part of what we need to discuss. They moved to a smaller conference room where the real negotiations would take place. The Emperor brought his top advisors, Director Kelvar from Intelligence, Admiral Zarketh, and General Morketh. Captain Chen was accompanied by 3 other humans, including an elderly man who introduced himself as Ambassador James Harrison. Emperor, Ambassador Harrison began, before we discuss terms, I think you should understand exactly what you're dealing with. Explain. The ambassador activated a small device that projected a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. This shows the current political situation as we see it. The map was shocking. Instead of the solid imperial control that the Emperor expected to see, Huge sections of space were marked in different colors. Red areas showed active independence movements. Yellow regions indicated systems with significant human influence. Green zones marked worlds that had already declared independence from the Empire. "This can't be accurate," General Morketh protested. "Our intelligence shows no such widespread rebellion." "Your intelligence shows what we wanted it to show," Captain Chen replied. "For 50 years we've been carefully managing what information reached your government." Director Kelvar leaned forward. "You're saying you've been controlling our intelligence networks?" "Not controlling. Influencing. We made sure you only saw what would keep you comfortable and complacent." Emperor Veltar stared at the map. "How many systems have we actually lost?" "That depends on how you define lost," Ambassador Harrison said. "Over 300 systems have declared independence in the past week. Another 500 are in active rebellion, and roughly 2,000 more have significant independence movements. That's impossible. We would have detected rebellions of that size." "Emperor, you detected exactly what we wanted you to detect. Every rebel communication you intercepted, every independence leader you captured, every plot you uncovered, we allowed all of it to happen to convince you that you had everything under control." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. The Empire hadn't been maintaining order. They had been allowed to believe they were maintaining order while their actual control slowly disappeared. "What is it you want?" the Emperor asked. Captain Chen spoke up. "We want to formalize what's already happening. The Empire as a galaxy-spanning dictatorship is over, but that doesn't mean the Imperial worlds have to suffer. You're demanding our surrender. We're offering you a partnership. The territories that want to remain part of the Empire can do so. The systems that want independence can have it. And Earth offers technological cooperation and military alliance to all peaceful governments. And if we refuse," Ambassador Harrison gestured to the map again, "then you can try to reconquer 300 independent systems, while 500 more are in active rebellion. You can use your military to fight a galaxy-wide war against enemies who have better technology than you do." Admiral Zarketh spoke up. "What kind of technological cooperation are you offering?" Captain Chen smiled. "Medical technology that can extend lifespans by centuries. Energy systems that can power entire planets without resource depletion. Transportation methods that make your current FTL drives look like Stone Age tools. And the military alliance? Protection from threats outside this galaxy. You know they exist, Emperor. We know you've been preparing for their eventual arrival." Emperor Veltar's face showed surprise. "How do you know about that?" "Because we've been preparing for the same threats. The difference is, we've been preparing together with dozens of other civilizations across this galaxy. While you've been trying to control everyone, we've been building alliances." "Other civilizations? What other civilizations?" Ambassador Harrison activated another display. "The Andromedan refugees who arrived 200 years ago. The transdimensional traders you've never been able to contact. The machine intelligences from the Galactic Core. They're all part of what we call the Galactic Alliance." "You're saying there are major civilizations in our galaxy that we don't know about?" "Your galaxy, Emperor?" "This is everyone's galaxy. And yes, there are dozens of advanced civilizations that have been hiding from the Empire because they didn't want to be conquered." Director Kelvar looked stunned. "How is this possible?" "Our sensors cover every system. Your sensors detect what they're designed to detect. When civilizations develop technology beyond your understanding, they become invisible to your instruments." Emperor Veltar stood and walked to the window, looking out at the capital city below. For 3,000 years, his ancestors had built an empire, based on the belief that they were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Now he learned that they were not even close to the most advanced, and had been barely tolerated by powers they never knew existed. "What are your terms?" he asked. Captain Chen stood as well. "Simple. We establish the Terran Imperial Accords. The Empire continues to govern worlds that choose to remain imperial. Independent systems govern themselves. Earth provides technology and protection to all peaceful governments, and we all work together to prepare for threats from outside the galaxy. And if imperial worlds choose independence, then they choose independence. Emperor, you can't hold a galaxy together by force when your enemies have better weapons than you do." General Morketh slammed his fist on the table.
"This is surrender!"
"We're giving up everything our ancestors built." "General," Ambassador Harrison said calmly, "your ancestors built an empire through conquest. We're offering you something better, A civilization built through cooperation. What guarantees do we have that you won't simply conquer us once we agree to this? Captain Chen looked puzzled. Emperor, if we wanted to conquer you, why would we be negotiating? We could have disabled your entire fleet months ago and simply taken what we wanted. Then why haven't you? Because conquest creates enemies. Cooperation creates allies. We need allies for what's coming. What's coming? Ambassador Harrison's expression became serious. The Void Hunters from outside the galaxy. They've been moving toward us for centuries. Our scouts estimate they'll arrive within 50 years. Void Hunters? A machine civilization that consumes entire galaxies. They've already destroyed 3 galaxies we know of. This entire discussion about empires and independence becomes meaningless if we're not united when they arrive. Emperor Veltar returned to his seat. The weight of decision pressed down on him like a physical force. Everything he had known about the galaxy was wrong. Everything he had believed about imperial power was an illusion. And now he learned that there were threats coming that made their political disputes seem trivial. If I agree to these accords, what happens to the Empire? The Empire becomes one member of a galactic community instead of trying to be the only member. You keep your core worlds, your loyal citizens, and your dignity, and you gain allies who can help you face threats you can't handle alone. And if I refuse? Captain Chen's expression remained friendly, but her words carried weight. Then you try to hold together a failing empire while preparing for an invasion you can't possibly survive alone. Emperor Veltar looked around the room at his advisors. Admiral Zarketh nodded slightly, indicating his support for the agreement. Director Kelvar looked defeated but resigned. General Morketh still looked angry, but even he couldn't argue with the logic of their situation. I need time to consider this. Of course, Emperor, but remember, every day you wait, more systems declare independence. The offer we're making today might not be available tomorrow. 3 days later, Emperor Veltar signed the Terran Imperial Accords in a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy. The document officially recognized the end of imperial hegemony and the beginning of a new era of galactic cooperation. Captain Sarah Chen stood beside the Emperor as he signed, representing not just humanity, but dozens of civilizations that had remained hidden for centuries. The ceremony marked the transformation of a galaxy ruled by conquest into a galaxy governed by alliance. As the UES Defiance prepared to leave Imperial space, now with proper diplomatic credentials, Captain Chen sent a final message to Admiral Zarketh. Admiral, thank you for your patience during this transition. I hope our next meeting will be as allies rather than strangers. Captain Chen, Zarketh replied, I still don't understand how you managed all of this.